Hello, everyone. Welcome to Mangaki no Tsukai. My name is Evan, and today I'm joined by Adam
Hello.
and Jesse.
Hello, how are you?
Well, the first series we're doing is called KINGDUMMIES, where we read Kingdom. Um, Adam and I have already very familiar with the series, but Jesse is completely unfamiliar. And it took trying to make a podcast for him to actually finally read this thing. So, guys, Jesse, what did you think so far of this first arc, these first 47 chapters?
This is great stuff. At first, I was worried. I was texting you guys saying, "Hey, is 47 chapters kind of too many to cover in one episode, and try to read in 1 week or whatever?" But I couldn't stop reading whenever I would actually be able to read. I would read like 15 chapters at a time, really, and just kind of wrapped up the whole thing really fast. So it was awesome. It was really awesome.
Well, I gotta tell you, it only gets much better from here. Much, much better. Adam, what did you think with your reread?
I've read this a few times. The thing is, I want to say this is like my fourth or fifth time reading it. Uh, but after the second time, because the first time I didn't really read to wherever it was caught up. After the second time reading it, I stopped reading this first arc
Mm,
because I really just wanted to get right to the campaign stuff.
yeah,
Uh,
I get that.
and building on what you said, it gets better. I honestly think this is probably like the weakest arc.
Yeah, honestly, I mean, like this arc has some really. I mean, I've realized this from rereading it again that this arc has a lot of like world building stuff and a lot of stuff that we'll get to later, but that sets up stuff that will only happen like hundreds of chapters later. But I agree with that it really is the weakest arc because it doesn't have any like super big battles or anything like that. I mean, it does have some pretty badass moments, but nothing compared to what's in store for us later on.
Yeah,
Um,
I think this arc just does a really. I to say that it's the weakest arc is not like a knock on the actual arc, because along with what Jesse said, like when he was texting us and saying, hey, I'm on chapter 12, and I was like, oh man, I'm like on chapter 30, I'm almost done with this. I was like, you're
mhm.
gonna hit a point where it's like, and I think that point is like around chapter 16 ish, 17 ish, um, when like, wow, I want to just keep reading this. Like I'm
Mm.
hooked on this right now. I need to keep reading this. Like I
Yeah,
got
yeah,
to
yeah.
47 and I told you guys that, and you're like, oh yeah, you both were like, oh, we're almost there. Um, and I was like, well, fucking catch up. I want to read more. you know.
Yeah. Well, chapter 16, 17, I believe, is when they start going to the mountain people. And it actually shows the mountain, like the story of after the whole Duke Moo thing, where he helped out the mountain people by giving them like horses and stuff,
Right.
and food and treated them right. And then chapter 16 is actually where it shows the mountain people come back and uh, basically help them out on the battlefield. It's got that really crazy panel, the guy
Oh
biting out
yeah.
the man's throat,
Yeah.
and I believe the actual quote from the man biting out the man's throat is "Yeah, Bucci," and he's got like seven eyes. It's pretty weird.
It's pretty
Yeah.
awesome though.
Yeah.
Pretty
I
goddamn awesome.
yeah, the mountain people and the king of the mountain people, which we'll get to. Uh, awesome shit there. I loved all that.
Yeah, were there any like particular panels that you guys thought were like really dope? I think personally, like in the first chapter, page 29, where it shows Shin and Hyo just like standing there, like proclaiming that they're going to be great generals.
Oh right.
Really, really awesome. Really
I think
badass.
I think Adam sent us that
Yeah,
page, right?
I was gonna say, is that the one where like they have like the demon faces and they're like standing with their swords pointed up and forward?
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. Where
yeah.
they're like, oh, our names will echo across China.
Yeah, that's like the first time like you really see their conviction, because it's like they
Yeah.
say that in the first chapter to Shobunkun,
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
he's like, are you kids like taking me for a fool?" And then like they're like just standing there like straight facing him, and he's like caught off guard by that, and it's like
Mhm.
you really see that these two peasants, these two war orphan kids, are like very serious about raising their status and becoming something great.
Yeah, and I mean, although the reason he was so interested in them because he looked exactly like Say,
Right,
you could
which we
still
didn't know
tell,
at the time.
right? You could still tell that he takes at least Yo very very serious.
Right. I mean, he
Um,
obviously wants Hyo to work with him, and so on and so forth. He probably looks at Shin as just like some like stupid mountain monkey kid.
right, right. Um,
As far as favorite panels, I'm always a sucker for like if it's a full page or if it's a double page kind of
mm,
panel. And I also really love the way that this guy draws the environment and like the mountains
yeah,
and like trees and everything. Like he doesn't use like outlines. It's just like a bunch of lines grouped together to make a shape, but there's no outlines on anything, and it looks really awesome.
yeah, I hear you on that one, especially like what you were saying about mountains because they're off in the distance, and it kind of makes it almost look like there's fog off in the distance. Like
Hmm.
I'm
Yes.
looking at chapter one right now, and I am on page 31, and there's a shot of some mountains and like some rice fields, and yeah, in the background it kind of makes it look like it's just fog and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, you can go look at. I mean, literally, like, what page is this? The 10th page in, like after they do like the intro stuff and like the index and like some pictures from like the actual scan team. Like one
Hmm.
of the first panels is just a shot of a mountain, bunch of different mountains, and Hyo and Shin on top of a mountain fighting each other. But you don't even see them. You just see them yelling "Ka" back and forth.
Yeah, right.
But like
Just two little text bubbles.
the thing is, like the mangaka does such a good job at making it look much bigger than like the actual like what you're actually seeing, because like all these mountains, I mean when you see something in the distance it looks small, and like the way that he does that with this illustration is just like so well done.
Which lends itself to the battles that are going to happen later on because he has to draw a lot of formations and not so much individuals as just bodies, um,
Mm.
like masses of bodies,
Yeah.
far away from the distance, just to show like what is going on in the heat of the battle rather than um, individually, like with Shin.
Like it looks like Dynasty Warriors.
Yeah, like, well, yeah, well, we haven't even. I mean, we get a little bit of that in the first arc with some of the
Like
action that
very
happens,
little though.
but yeah, no, it doesn't even
Like
start
not
to
even
look
on
good.
like the grand scheme of like when we like get into like the actual campaigning stuff. Like Evan's talking about the fight. I'm assuming Oki and Shobunkun's you know two little squads going at it.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
that's basically like the first little like breath of what we get uh, when it comes to battles, but we don't really see anything else like that in the entirety of the rest of this arc. Um,
Absolutely.
like we get a lot in Kanyo of them fighting and stuff, um, but like that's more of like a tactics and strategy kind of thing, and it shows that chapter 13 is definitely more of an indicator of like what the rest of the series is like.
Hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, going back to like the art too. We had said that the art just gets better as it goes on, and that's absolutely the case. But honestly, the art right from the bat is actually a lot better than I remember it being, especially the
Agreed.
environments. He does a really good job of making clothes look like clothes. Like they flow very naturally. Like they're not just like pieces of paper on people. They look like they're, wearing actual cloth and wearing armor.
Hmm.
The only thing is he does faces like very plainly. Like Kyo
Mm.
and Shin's face are like, there's when you see them, you know who they are, but there's like no real detail to them. Some of the characters like Shobunkun, like the older people, where he has to draw like wrinkles on them, and like some of the later characters like Oki and whatnot, like they're a little bit more detailed. But for the most part, that's probably the weakest point of his illustration. But that's
Yeah.
that's just nitpicky at this point.
Like there are definitely points where like the eyes and like just the overall face of Shin and Sei are like basically kind of the same, besides like a little bit of their eyes and like their eyebrows. Other than that, they
Yeah.
basically look like the same character for sure.
Right, right.
But that's interesting too because this is one of those series where you watch the characters age, you know. Um, so like in a few chapters we'll see what Shin looks like in a few months, and then after that we'll see like what he looks like a year afterwards. Um, Same with Karyoten, she can't hide in
Right.
that thing forever.
A little bird costume, whatever it is.
Yeah, yeah. This like the bird basket.
Right, right. Her
which
mountain person tribe get up, I guess.
which
Sometimes
I
when he draws her, it looks like Kirby. It's a little
yeah.
beak. It looks so
Yeah, yeah,
simple
yeah.
sometimes. Literally just a circle with a beak.
Yeah, yeah. He doesn't even add like the scratch marks for like the straw or
Yeah.
whatever.
I do love his usage of all these different gray tones. It's awesome.
Mm.
Basically, a lot of pages are just different shades of gray.
Yeah.
It's like no white to be found. So it's pretty
I
awesome.
mean, going off of that, when and actually what you were saying too, Adam, about clothes and stuff. On chapter 15, on page 10, we see Ryo Fui for the first time, and I'm looking at it right now. And what you're saying about the gray tones and with the clothes and stuff flowing normally is like hits spot on. This is like basically what you want to look at when you're talking about that because
Yeah.
it looks awesome, you know.
Mm.
Uh, So let's talk about like some things that are set up that haven't really been mentioned in this first arc. The first thing I could pick was in chapter 2. Kyou mentions General Mogo in one of the first pages, and that's a character that shows up like and he's pretty important, and his family is very important.
Yeah.
Um, in chapter 3 they have to fight that assassin who's a Shukyo assassin, and we'll see more of that, and we'll see other different like assassins in the assassin world.
Yeah, I
um
definitely expected to see more of them for sure. I do love though. I think it's at the end of one chapter where Shin like fights him and defeats him, and then right in the beginning of the next chapter, Sei just cuts his fucking head off. Like,
yeah, yeah,
I
Yeah,
yeah.
love
yeah.
that.
Yeah, because he fights him and then he beats him basically, but I guess he was just so pissed off about being chased by this fucking guy that he wanted to take the kill. I don't know. That was a little bit confusing to me because the dude was basically dead already.
Yeah, well, I mean, the guy was, begging for his life. He was like, "Please don't kill me. I have a family."
Oh, you know what?
Uh,
You're right.
he's like,
Right, and he
yeah, I have kids at home, and probably a lie.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
he's
I'm
an
sure.
assassin, right? So he
I
definitely
mean,
was just trying
we've
to.
all pulled out that excuse.
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
we've all tried to kill a person, and then when it went wrong, we begged for our lives and got our heads cut off.
Absolutely. Been there, done that.
Yeah.
So yeah, so Hyo being the intelligent person that he is was like, No, I'm just gonna take your head, my man."
Mm.
Yeah, I think he says like your children will not uh carry their or like well, your children will not pay for their father's sins or something like that. He says something like that,
Yeah,
and then
yeah,
he cuts his head off.
Damn.
Something like that.
Your crimes have nothing to do with your children.
yes.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
there we go.
You looking at it right now?
Yeah, yeah, I've got it up. I'm, flipping through it as we're talking about it.
Yeah, I'm trying to do the same.
So after that, they go into they go to the hideout where the old Duke Mu met with the mountain people, and they start talking about the mountain people and stuff.
Uh,
Jesse,
Real quick
what do
before we get into this,
yeah.
I, I, I don't. I feel like we should just say what like actually happened up to this point, like very briefly. If you want to just like go over like a quick synopsis of everything that happened up to this point.
Okay, so basically, Shobun-kun finds Shin and Hyo in a like a little hamlet, and he notices that Hyo looks exactly like the King of Chin, who is going to be fighting off a rebellion from his brother. Um, Unfortunately, Hyo dies, and Sei, who is the king, goes to the village to run and try to meet up with Shobunkun and his retainers. While there, he meets Shin um, in the bandit village. That's just a little bit farther off from like where Shin and Hyo grew up. He meets Shin, he meets Ten, and Shin's trying to understand why Hyo had to die, and it was because finds out, it's because he was the bodyguard, or not the bodyguard, rather the body double for the king. He's really pissed off about that, and to try to understand that why Hyo died better, he decides to go along with Sei, and meet up with Shobunkun. Um, and I
Yeah.
mean, that's basically it for where we are right now, where we're talking. Um,
Yeah, you
I have a
covered.
I have a line here from chapter 5, just a random line written down that Say says, "It's a war where blood is washed with blood, metal horns in the air, brother." You know what I mean?
yeah, that sounds
And then
like
also in that chapter we see Ketsu with a bunch of women just sucking all over his body,
Oh my God, yeah.
which was pretty
yeah,
cool.
The
that
chancellor
fat
of the
fuck.
left, yeah.
Yeah, that fat fuck, Ketsu.
Yeah,
Yeah.
when he draws him and he gets all angry and like his veins pop out everywhere, it's so disgusting looking.
Yeah, that's like okay, so that character is one of the few characters when he does that stuff where it's like, man, this character has a lot of detail on his face. Like he has like those warts. He's got like that.
Yeah.
He's sweating profusely. He's got veins bulging out of his fucking neck. Like that's one of the
Yeah.
characters where it's like, all right, this guy, like, and it's I don't think it's like him being like, I'm just gonna be lazy with these faces. It's just like this guy has so much detail on his face. Like that the mangaka can do this kind of stuff, and you'll see it later on too.
It's like when
Yeah.
SpongeBob gets like all surrealist painting, like
Oh my God! Like, oh man, just to go off topic, like when he breaks his fucking fingers, cracking his fingers, and they like zoom in on his face, and his fingers all broken.
Oh my God.
And the nasty patty has like pimples on it and stuff.
Yeah.
It's all hairy.
Yeah, it's like
It looks
fly
like Ketsu,
wings or
man.
something. Yeah, exactly.
So, while they're waiting for Shobunkun and the rest of the retainers to show up, they get attacked by this guy named Muta, who's like an assassin. Who I'm pretty sure they're implying like he comes from Vietnam, right?
That's what I assumed.
Because of the dress, and like they're saying like, oh yeah, this guy came from like the south, like where there's like jungles and stuff.
Right. They also
So,
point out that his tribe fights with the Chu, which is
right.
the southern part of China that its own little country. Which Chu later on in the story is pretty cool.
Yeah, they're pretty important. Um,
Right on.
Without talking about it too much, Chu is like basically the biggest of the kingdoms that exist in China right now.
Right. All of their border touches pretty much every other state's border, besides maybe Zhou.
Do you guys remember what chapter it is where they show the map? It's pretty early on.
Yeah, I think it's chapter
looked up
1.
it too.
Chapter 1, I
Is
think.
it chapter 1? I'm not sure.
I'm pretty sure like one of the after that scene I told you guys about with like the mountains. Okay, maybe it's not chapter 1. I don't remember, but I do know what you're talking about.
Well, the reason I brought up Muto was because, I mean, he's pretty unimportant in the in the grand scheme of things. But one,
Oh, by the way,
he
it's chapter 15, page 7.
15 page 7. But one, he calls out 10, I believe, to as to like what her true identity is.
Right.
But also she lifts she gets a pretty rare drop and and gets his poison darts,
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
which she'll
Rare
use
drop.
for quite a little bit.
Which was
She'll
really
use,
funny about that was he was like, "Oh, you're a child. I can't. The poison darts are a bit too too lethal for you. I'll give you some like paralyzing darts or numbing darts or whatever. And she's like,
Right.
he's like telling her where it is because he can't move, and he grabs her ball, or she grabs his balls. He's like, "That's my balls," and like,
Yeah. Yeah. He just like deadpan, like, oh, them's my C and B's, you know.
yeah, my C and B's.
Yeah, cock and balls, you know.
You know.
So after this, after 10 gets the poison darts, oh yeah, actually, um, where is this? Sorry, one sec. In chapter 12, on page 10, that's one of the really cool panels, I think. Where Shobun-kun shows up with the boys and Muda's like on the ground and he's like, "What are you doing to my king?"
Oh yeah.
That's how I for some reason I read that line in that voice, but that's one of the most badass moments from Shobun-kun period in the series. I feel like.
Yeah, where he's like standing directly behind him after Shin cuts him down. He's got the big glaive in his hand. He's got his boys right behind him, and he just fucking cuts him down.
And then he just straight up ignores Shin and just starts crying to the king.
Yep. Yeah, Shin literally walks up to him, be like, Hyo's dead, and he just walks right past him, like, doesn't give a fuck.
Yeah. He's got a pretty detailed face when he gets drawn, Shobun-kun.
Yeah, he's one of the guys that I said before, like, he's got more of a detailed face, especially the older characters will, because of, like, the wrinkles and the way the skin's a little bit more droopy, where like Shin's a kid, they're just drawing him to look like a little kid at this point. Same with 10. Like 10's like
definitely
like 8 in this scene, I think, or something like that. She's super young.
Yeah, something. They're all super. I think Shin's like what, 13, 14?
Yeah, I want to say somewhere between 12 and 14. Same with Sai or Essay or however you pronounce it. Say.
I'm pretty sure it's Say.
Yeah, Aisei, I think.
Okay. Yeah, I always said it as Sai. I probably, like you said, Ryu-Fu or Ryu-Fu. I always called him Ryo-Fu.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I mean, it totally could be, but I thought it was Ryo-Fu.
I have no idea. I just, again, it's how I read it versus how you read it. So if I say something,
So with
how dare you?
Yeah, I know.
With the king's name, instead of E-I, I would always see E-L, so I would always read El Se, and then in my head I would also just read it like El King. So like maybe that's just how I'll refer to it.
Yeah, there you go. That works, buddy.
Yeah. Jesse, I didn't want to say it, but you totally spoiled yourself with the series where Say becomes Zorro and he moves to California to fight against the evil Spanish governor. But all right, okay. So moving forward from here, they decide to go to the mountain people to try to make an alliance. They go up there, they get quickly captured and brought in front of Yotanwa. Jesse, what do you think of these mountain people? What do you? I mean, obviously you've read the full arc, so you know that they come in clutch at the end.
Mm-hmm.
But what do you think? What are your thoughts on the mountain people?
Yeah, they're just vicious. The sentence I have written here is Yotanwa and mountain people dope.
Let's go.
I think that pretty much sums it up.
Let's go.
They're awesome. I will say there's like a cover page of a colored, like a couple of mountain people that is colored, and they all have like different colored markings on their body and like different colored masks and stuff.
Yeah.
I was picturing more of like they all have the same just like blank color, but that's cool too that they all have different colors.
Yeah, so you're gonna you mind if I take this one?
Yeah, go ahead.
I was just gonna say you're gonna see that there's a lot of different mountain tribes working under Yotanwa. So like for example, Baggio is a part of her original tribe, and his mask reflects that. Whereas that other guy, I can't remember his name, and he's one of like the 3 mountain people that the names I should know. There's Taijifu, Baggio, and the bird clan guy with the.
Hold on, because I know exactly who you're talking about.
Well, while you're looking that up, the reason their masks are different is because they come from different tribes. Like Yotanwa. her
Cool.
conquest, they bring this up too. Like she united a bunch of tribes under her tribe. Like she went into their territory and dominated
Right.
them, and they then became a part of her tribe. She, has like 200,000 mountain people underneath her.
Yeah.
The guy in the Bird Fang tribe is named Shunmen.
Thank you, Shunmen. Yeah, so like
Yeah.
you'll see like, and as we go forward, there's gonna be people with body markings that aren't the same as other people. There's gonna be masks that are different, weapons that are different. The mountain tribes are really, really, really cool, man.
Yeah, they're very diverse, and they have all of them have like different specializations.
Right.
Like
Well, I know that Ten herself comes from a different tribe than the
Right,
tribe that they're directly working with, right?
right,
yeah, it's completely separate, unfortunately.
yeah.
But she's still technically a mountain tribes person.
Right. Now, how old is Yotanwa? Because there's a flashback of, I think before it's actually revealed that she's a woman. I don't remember how long ago that flashback was, but she's definitely older than Shin and Sei, right? Like 10
Yeah,
years or so at
yeah. I
least.
mean, I think Yotan was in her early 30s, maybe late 20s.
Okay.
That flashback was when she recruited Baggio, who was
Right.
just like a little like a cannibal savage, basically an animal.
Right.
Um, yeah, she's probably in her like late 20s, early 30s
I would
is
say,
what I'm
I,
assuming.
I would say, probably 20s, 30s as well. I would guess 20s, and then like as the series goes on, because we have a lot of time
Say
skips
that again?
throughout the. Oh, I was saying, she's probably in her 20s. Because we have so much time skips throughout
Yes.
the entire manga. I mean, every campaign there's like a time skip. Um,
True.
so she's probably in her late 20s, I would guess. But
Right.
she's young. She's super young.
Yeah. So, but I'm sure she sees some of
Oh,
herself
say that three
in
times
Sei.
fast.
Yeah. Seriously.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, so like during two things that or one thing that we definitely skipped over was the fact that Shobunkun was attacked by Oki's boys.
Oh, yes, we did skip over
Right.
that.
That happened right before they go up. Like when Shobunkun shows up, he talks
Yeah,
about like Oki got in the way.
right. Oki. Jesse, what do you think about Oki?
Oh yeah. Well, when Oki first I think shows up, he's like, "This is Shogun Kun's head," and it's the little girl from Hereditary.
No.
Oh man.
Yeah. So that was cool, but it was cool because I think like just a few chapters later you get revealed that Shogun Kun is not dead. So
Right.
Yeah.
you see how that's gonna play out, and I feel like the well we haven't even talked about I don't really think Seikyo, right? Is that the brother's name?
Yeah,
Psycho.
Seikyo. Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
So I don't
Okay.
even think we've really talked about him too much. But I don't think like him and his whole crew even know that Oki didn't kill Shogun Kun for like a long time, right? Until they show back up at
Right.
the place. What is the city where the kingdom's
Kanryo.
shit is called?
Kanyo?
Or
Yeah.
Kanyo. Yeah, not Kanryo. Kanyo.
Yeah, Kanyo is the name of the city. And yeah, you're totally right. Like they have no idea. They think he's dead up until the I mean, he shows himself again. Um but Seikyo, his thing is that like he's full on noble blood and Sei isn't, but
Right.
he was chosen instead of Sei because he's older and also because well, I don't want to say anything too much, but there are other reasons why he was chosen as well over Seikyo. So the entire modus for this arc is that Seikyo thinks it's some BS that Sei is the king. So this is all his rebellion as well as Ketsu, the chancellor, that big guy with the warts on his face.
Right.
He's
Yeah.
helped by Mr. Shi, who's another character that's pretty important too.
Mm-hmm.
Later on, Mr. Shi's he's pretty serious.
Yeah, he's like a war counselor for the chancellors and the other higher up imperials in the court of the king. Yeah, so like a lot of this is because, I mean, I guess Chancellor Ketsu didn't really have this idea because Seikyo kind of approached him about it. But the whole point that Ketsu's like even doing any of this is so that he can become pretty much the king without actually being the king, you know?
Right. Like he wants to be the powers behind Seikyo,
Because right
pulling the
now,
strings.
right now the powers are split. It's supposed to be Seikyo and Ketsu and Sei and Ryofui, but Ryofui's kind of fucking off in a way.
Right. And he's taking his time because he wants to see who's going to come out on top, and he's going to kill whoever comes out on top,
Right,
you know.
because he has the
Mm.
same ambition as Ketsu. The whole thing is just, just power control. It doesn't matter
Yeah.
who the actual king is. It's about who's actually pulling the strings in the court, you know.
Right.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Evan, do you want to talk about how we get out of the mountain tribes and why they come together?
Well, yeah, actually, I was gonna say, the only reason Yotan was convinced is one because of Sei's conviction on what he needs to do, and for the first time in chapter 21, like you get to see what Sei's motivations are, which is to control all of China. So between like pages, I have it written down here, pages 15 and 18. This is where you first see that Sei wants to, remove all the borders between the states. And, at the same time, Yatanwa's people are confined to these mountains. They're doing fine, but they're confined to these mountains, and the world is really like far away from them. So the reason that the mountain people want to help out Sei and Shin is to basically expand their world. Um, I think Yatanwa actually mentions it, like, why don't we just invade the Chin? But instead of that, instead of invading them, where am I even going with this?
they work with them instead of invading them.
Right, because it's simpler to, I mean, because they have no idea what the rest of the world is basically like. So rather than invade them and go onto this new world where they'll be surrounded by even more enemies, they decided they'll help Chin and kind of get acclimated to it.
Right. Yeah, I mean they're obviously a mountain tribe and they're used to fighting in the mountains. They're not used to fighting on flat land. They are savages, and like one of them will probably kill 10 guys before he goes down. But they don't know the first thing about actually taking over a whole kingdom. If they were to go in and just take over Chin, they probably could have done it at this point.
They definitely could have, but then they'd be surrounded by Chu, by Zhao, by Wei.
Right. Chancellor Ryofui would probably make his way back, you know.
Plus, like later on in the series, that they talk about how they absolutely adore the Chin, but that's for
Right.
a later episode.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if we like directly talked about why them and Chin. I know you kind of mentioned like the horse liquor story, but
Right.
they
Yeah.
they
Where
have some kind of tie to Chin as it is already through a king 400 years in the past.
right where they stole killed a bunch of his horses, and the king was just basically like, "Hey, you guys, have some of this liquor that goes really well with horse." And after that, like they made like a really good relationship with each other until that guy died. And then ever since then, like they've been, relationships have been tense between them.
Right.
Yeah,
I
it just
mean,
went right back to how it was.
right. They
Hmm.
were essentially living amongst the Chin at that point too. They weren't even like they were still partially mountain tribes, but some of their people were living on the flatlands, and
Right.
the Chin pretty much killed them and drove them back into the mountains because,
Hmm.
for whatever reason. It's pretty stupid if you ask me. They had this great fucking mountain people army on their side, and they're like, let's get rid of them.
Yeah.
The way that the village too of the mountain people is set up, just like built into the mountains, like anything that looks like that is always pretty classic and awesome looking.
Yeah, that looked
Hmm.
awesome.
I agree. Like the way it's like built into the mountains is really cool. You know what it reminded me of actually? In Avatar: The Last Airbender with the with the one air tribe, um, like their air nomad temple. Do you guys
Hmm.
know what I'm talking
Yeah,
about?
yeah.
Like pretty
Where
early
like it's
on in the series.
No, it's like
No,
later on.
the other, like, I think, where's Aang from? Is he from the Northern Air
I,
Temple?
for, I forget which one. I think the one I'm talking about is the Southern Air Temple, and
Right.
it's like the buildings are all like built into the cliffs underneath, upside down. It's
Right,
like
right,
super
right.
cool.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
kind of what the Mountain People's tribes like village reminded me of.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. So what else here? So I guess, at this point, they team up with the Mountain Tribe and they decide to go down. They, you know, they make the plan where they go to Kanyo, um, and they basically bluff their way into the city, and they send out a hit squad to take out Seikyo and the court. Um, Basically, a lot of the rest of this chapter, I mean, a lot of this arc so far has been a lot of world building and stuff, but I feel like from chapter 26 on, it's a lot of just action, like it's a lot of stuff going on.
Yeah, and the battles seem like pretty like compact and grounded and stuff, but still fucking awesome at the same
Yeah.
time.
Like they have a lot of really cool panels. Like in chapter 29, just like the second page. Like the first page too, but like the second page of Say just standing there with his mountain tribe mask on and his mountain garb. Super cool.
Yeah,
Oh
after he just
yeah,
like cut down that one guy that was like there to
yeah.
Yeah,
like
he drew
That's like the
first
start
blood.
of it.
right,
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
They let him go first. Pretty much, I think like in the chapter right before this, they're like, "All right, Yotan, when you kick this off," and she was like, "Nah, we're gonna let this guy take care of that."
right,
Hmm.
right.
And then
There's that one panel too when the battle's going. It actually might be when they're inside, but Haji Fu hits that guy with his mace, and it just like hole punches a perfect circle out of him, and
yeah.
his arm is disconnected, but it's still like floating in place. Just like
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
perfect timing in that drawing. You know what I mean?
You
Like,
know what that actually kind of reminded me of? The guy in what's it called? Kung Pao Enter the Fist, where he punches
Oh
he
yeah.
punches the hole in the guy's stomach.
right.
Yeah.
He's the your time is up, Mister. Oh
Yeah.
man.
That's great.
Um
Yeah, we
um
didn't mention too how like Say and all his dudes they dress up as mountain people.
yeah.
Yeah,
They in order to get inside of the city, they
and
show
what
up and they're like, "Hey, let's talk alliance." And they get
and what
into the city and
and what's
yeah.
his name sees the glint of armor.
Yeah, Mr. Shi.
Yeah, Mr. Shi. Mhm.
Mr. Shi is there with his two boys, Giko, and Saji. And he notices some shiny thing under some of the mountain tribe people, and he goes and prepares for it.
Mhm. Um I'm looking at chapter 31 right now. Um if you start on page 18, where they're like they have a bunch of mountain people in front of them and like in front of this crossbow team, and they're like, all troops fire on my mark, and before they could even like finish saying fire, the mountain people are just like in their grills just chopping
Right.
them up. And like
Yeah,
that's one of my favorite parts of this entire arc, because just the mountain people just fucking killing fools is just like some of the most satisfying shit to me.
Yeah, it's pretty
yeah,
crazy that this crossbow unit's so fucking incompetent that three people just walked at them and just like killed a
Yeah,
bunch of them.
that's what I'm saying. No, I think maybe it's more of like just how badass.
No, I know. I was making a joke.
But
But yeah,
I mean, you're not wrong though.
they even said that the commander Giko is like feared amongst the other, states because of his crossbow squad. Like he's like, a respected commander on the field. So like this
Mm.
crossbow squad's nothing to shake a stick at.
But you know what? Speaking of people that are supposed to be like super badass but totally job it up, Saji, the guy that fights
Yep.
them in the on the way to the
And like the
royal
left
chambers,
the left dragon corridor or
yeah,
whatever it's
right.
called.
right? That guy, I mean, he kills a few people. Like he slices that mountain man in when he like jumped above him. Like he's completely bisects him. And then like he wounds Heki, but then Shin just fucking kills him. I don't understand. I mean, I understand that Shin's our main character and he should be like super strong, but this guy is like super experienced. Like he's been hyped up for chapters and chapters as like the baddest of asses. But
yeah, Shin gets a lot of plot armor throughout the series. He definitely gets worked a few times. He gets worked a few times, you know. Like there's times where like it's like, oh man, Shin's like he can't even be on the battlefield right now. He's fucked up. But
right.
like this, and I was actually gonna bring you brought it up for Saji. I was gonna bring it up for Muda. Like Muda is like a person who's lived on the battlefield and is like way older than Shin, much more experienced. Shin's only battle experience is with Hyo, and then that one assassin guy.
Right.
Like with a wooden sword.
Right, with a wooden sword. Well, I guess he fights that guy with the king sword. That
right, but I mean before all that.
Right, yeah, just training with a
wooden sword.
Right. So like, yeah, I mean, Shin's just he's very strong, and we're gonna see that throughout the entire manga. But yeah, that's gonna happen a few times where it's like, I guess like after the first campaign, I care less about that because it's like, all right, at least he's like battle tested at this point,
And you know what, too? Shin is still definitely the main character, but especially after this first few arcs, like, there's a lot of focus put on other characters as well. Some that we've already met, some that we haven't yet.
Right.
Where, Shin's still, like, the central focus of it all, but, like, the perspective is from, people like, I don't even want to say to spoil Jesse.
Right. But yeah, I actually really like the way the mangaka does that because there's times where like we're not even looking at the same battlefield that Shin's on, and like we're watching other people and like their story and like their battle, and a lot of backstory of other characters just besides Shin because Shin doesn't really have a backstory because we know what he has been up to this point where there's so many other characters that are super important. That we're gonna like follow, and like when they go off and do something else, like the story is gonna focus on them, which I really really like. That it's not just like a Shin focused thing. It's really about just like all these characters and how they are tied together in the quest to unify China.
Hey, can I say something real quick about the whole crossbow thing that you brought up before with the crossbow faction and the mountain people?
Yeah.
Okay.
If you actually go back a few pages before, the crossbow people take down a few of the mountain people, and Yotanwa says there is no mountain dweller who would yield to the likes of a crossbow bolt. And you see a couple of them laying down with arrows stuck in them, and then they are in the midst of the crossbow guys, and they pop up like off the ground. And
you're right.
And you can see all these people on page 19. They have all like 4 arrows stuck in their chests and everything like that.
You're totally right.
Yeah, that's
You're
actually
totally
how it happens. It's not just like someone walking up on them, right? Because they had gotten onto a horse and they were chasing Chancellor Ketsu, and Chancellor Ketsu's cart got to the crossbow unit, and they shot the 3 men on the one horse. And then they just assumed they had died. And those are the guys that actually attacked the crossbow unit first.
Right. Huh. Well, thank you, Jesse. You're totally right. I completely forgot about that.
Yeah, I was looking at it. I was completely ignoring everything you guys were talking about and just looking at the one page.
That's good.
So moving forward from here, they kill Saji. They continue forward. One thing I did mark down here is chapter 35 is the first appearance of Toe.
Oh yeah, Toe.
Toe.
Toe is
Jesse,
awesome.
do you know which one I'm talking about?
I don't recall.
He's Oki's second in command. He's like his right-hand man.
Oh, yes.
He's the guy with the mustache.
He shows up at the gates later on, and he everybody's head off or something like that, right?
Yeah. He's
I
like, I can't let any of you guys leave.
every time I read anything that Toe says, I don't know why, but I read it in such like a flamboyant voice. I don't know if that's
I
because of Oki as well.
Well, I'm pretty sure it's implied that he and Toe were lovers, right? Or like in a certain, maybe not like, because there's the thing with Oki that I'm not going to talk about, like with someone, like he had a romance, right?
Right.
But the way him and Toe act is just like they're super close. They're like super flamboyant. They love boys. Like, they take a liking to Shin, and they're just like,
But
I
not
don't
not in
know.
like a weird kind of like boys way. I don't know, man. I don't
A
know.
It
little.
seems it seems
I
like
don't know.
Oki is drawn always with just like a big smile. Is his mouth ever even open?
They give him just giant lips that
Lips.
looks like he's
Yeah.
wearing lipstick, and he always says "nfu." Like
Ooh. Oh, speaking of which, the first one that I could find, the first example of him saying "nfu" is chapter 43, at the very end of the chapter.
that's like his favorite thing to say.
Yeah. Nfu.
Yeah. Yeah, Toe is awesome. Toe is even cooler. It's actually the funny thing is we don't see Toe like you said until chapter 34, but we saw Oki around like chapter 12,
8, yeah, or
13.
something like that. It's super
Oh
early.
yeah, chapter 7, Oki reveal. Yeah, chapter 7. And it's like even after all the other times like during that battle with Shobunkun, we don't see Toe at all. And then they show Toe. Another thing I wanted to point out off topic of Toe and Oki is whenever they showed Chancellor Ryufu, uh, they didn't show his face. They
Yeah.
showed side panel and like kind of like side back, like you're looking at like his shoulder and
Hmm.
the back side of his head. He looks different than how they actually draw him later.
For sure. For sure.
Mm,
I
mm.
totally get what you're saying. Um, Although, I mean, he still has that ostentatious, like he dresses well and everything like that, and he's super confident. Like he's totally,
Right.
obviously the same character, but I agree.
Yeah,
Like
it's
he
mostly
does
just the
look
face
different.
because I feel like later on his face is like this, like I want to say like almost a perfect circle. Like he is just
Yeah.
like straight up circle man. But like there, it's a little bit more featured out. I don't know. It was just something I wanted to bring up. Obviously,
Straight up circle, man.
like, yeah. I mean, he's like a circle. I mean, think about his face later on. It's not like chin where it's like rounded and then it comes to a point for the chin. It's like literally like a circle.
Yeah. And he's got that constant smile, kind of like Oki as well. Maybe
Right.
not. He doesn't have the big ass lips like he does, but
Right. But yeah,
um,
Toe is amazing. Toe gets only gets better as the series goes on.
oh my god, as you see more and more of him, it's like, oh my god,
Yeah.
why didn't you show him more for like at the beginning, like
Yeah.
I mean, he does have a pretty big part in it by killing all the nobles and stuff. Um, but still,
Oh yeah, that's something else we should point out. During all of this crossbow fighting going on, Oki is above them, watching everything happen.
right. He's planning for whatever his motivations are. Um, oh, you know what I wanted to talk about too? The Baggio when he fights Rankai, the big ape thing.
Yeah.
Um, and his backstory, I thought that was a really cool chapter 39. Uh, it just shows like because Baggio is a pretty big character. It starts off with just like a picture of him, just like with one panel page of him just standing on a rock and like trademark crossed arms. Uh, that entire fight was really cool. How they all kind of teamed up to kill him,
Mhm.
Rankai, but
Mhm.
Baggio was really kind of like the reason that they actually won. And then the flashback where he's like in a battlefield with a bunch of fucking corpses that he just murdered, and he's like 9, and he's eating this guy's guts.
Yeah, they show like a bunch of dead bodies with their stomachs eaten and just their ribs left.
Which then if this kid was able to kill like 20 dudes, and then he's beaten by Yotanwa, and it looks pretty handily in this flashback,
Yeah, absolutely.
like kind of shows even more like how much of a badass Tanwa is. Which we don't see for a while, but she's fucking great.
When do we actually get? When do they talk about King Show?
King Show. They talk about King Show um, in a few chapters from here when Sei and Oki are speaking to each other,
Oh, okay.
and Sei is basically trying to get the measure of Sei, or sorry, Oki's trying to get the measure of Sei.
Right, 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 right.
And he says like, oh yeah, King Shou wanted to conquer China, but he died before he could. Nobody else has been able to do anything even close to it, but he like looked in Sei's eyes and was able to like tell that he has the metal to actually do it.
Yeah, he likes Sei right off the right from that interaction because Sei pretty much just
Yeah, and
stands up
Oki
to
is
him.
like Oki's a very powerful and important character, and he's got an eye
Yes.
for talent. Um, so you know that's the truth when he says that.
Yeah, I mean to put it in perspective, Oki is probably top 5 strongest people alive at this point.
Oh
Like
wow.
not just in Chin. I mean like all of the
I would say,
states.
yeah, I would say like one or two, honestly.
Yeah, like he's ridiculous. He's so
Yeah,
so strong. And it's
yeah.
crazy that Toe works under him cuz Toe is like not that I would say Toe is as strong as Oki at this point, but like Toe is definitely strong enough to be a general of an army, you know.
Well, I mean, according to Oki, Toe is basically like on the same level. I mean, we're not going to get into that.
Right, 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 right. That's
Spoiler
later
level, but
stuff. Yeah.
yeah. But all right.
Oh, real quick before we get off the Baggio thing, it was really cool when Baggio, right before, or maybe it was right after the flashback, or it might have been right before the flashback, was like, "Let me handle this, guys. I'm gonna like revert to my old self for a little bit."
Yeah. Where he just becomes an animal,
Right.
basically.
Still on that topic, if you go to chapter 38, around page 9, Seikyo calls for Rankai, and he just like comes down from the ceiling. And
Yeah.
you get a really cool double page panel here, and then the next page is just this guy's like entire torso has been eaten. I'm assuming.
Oh
It's just
yeah,
like
yeah, yeah.
completely missing.
Oh yeah,
And
the top
also on
half,
top of
yeah.
that, his arm is also off to the side, kind of
Oh, it
like it's
is.
actually pretty
Yeah,
funny.
yeah, yeah. It is.
Right. And then there's this other thing I'm looking for. I don't know where it is. Ronkai punches a pillar, and like
Oh,
huge
the split.
splinters of
Yeah.
the pillars just like go through these dude's head and pin him up against the
Yeah,
wall. And
the
then
two of the nobles that are sitting there.
you see it like a couple chapters later on. You just see their fucking bodies just still pinned to the wall.
Dude, so badass. So many. See, this is what I was saying to you, Jesse. Like, this fucking manga is so badass. Like, and there's just so many awesome things that happen. It really is one of my favorites, man.
I would like to talk about Ron Kai for a second.
Yeah, yeah. What do you have to say?
What the fuck is this? What is this guy?
Um,
What the
he's
fuck?
like an ape, I think.
They
Like he's some sort of special ape, is what they say. I'm
right.
not convinced that's the truth because he looks like a fucking person, except with giant piercing teeth
Well, they said
and claws, actually.
Seikyo says he bought him. I don't remember where this chapter is, so I can't
I'm on
read
it
it
right now. It's
okay.
chapter 40, page 10. I literally just saw it when
Okay.
you said that.
Yeah,
I
he
bought Ronkai off a black market merchant.
right. The child of a rare
Child of
gorilla.
rare gorilla species. Yeah.
Yep,
Jinx,
yep,
you
yep.
owe me coke.
Damn it. No.
Cocaine.
No.
That Puerto Rican baby.
So a child of a rare gorilla species. Does that mean that Ronkai is a gorilla or like a child from a group of people that resemble gorillas?
I think it's supposed to be like a gorilla, like actually a gorilla. I think he's supposed to be like a yeti. like
Oh,
like
okay,
cuz what the
okay.
fuck else is that going to be? You know what
Right,
I
and
mean?
there's
Like
literally
he's
nothing else like this guy, this monster, throughout the entire rest of the series. There's like no
seriously.
gorilla people. There's no like abnormality people. Like this is just like I don't know why this guy was actually thrown into this. I'm gonna be honest with you. I guess just that
Yeah.
for Psycho to have a bodyguard, but like
Yeah,
Yeah, little
basically.
tiny king, like guy who wants to be king with a huge, slave, basically.
Yeah.
Does all his killing.
I mean,
We
he was
see
treated like a
that one
slave.
scene. Yeah, yeah. We see that one scene where he's just smashing people into the ground, right, for Seikyo's amusement.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna bring up the fact that Seikyo trained him by chaining him to a wall and cutting him until he was obedient and like knew
Yeah.
like, hey, if you cross me, I'm gonna fucking cut you up some more. Seikyo's like really fucked up at this point.
Yeah, Seikyo's like pretty much pure evil, honestly. Like there's really no redeeming factor. Um well after they kill Rankai, they've got I mean this kind of shows this actually right after they kill Rankai just kind of shows how shitty Seikyo is because when he's got these three dudes in front of him, he's supposed to be the king, but all the nobles and the eunuchs and whatever are all trying to get out of the room and they're like not protecting him, you know? So it kind of just shows like he's not really a king because he's a good leader. It's because he's just taken power.
Right. People fear him rather than actually like want to follow him, and which goes on to show like I guarantee if Chancellor
Hey, could you say that again? You're kind of like breaking up a little bit.
I was just saying he is ruling with straight up fear, which goes to show like if I feel like if Chancellor Ketsu actually succeeded in this, he'd probably get rid of Seikyo.
Probably. Yeah, I can't imagine why not.
Because like no one's following Seikyo, they're following Chancellor Ketsu.
Yeah, because he's got the influence and the money.
Right, he's got everything that they actually want. The Seikyo is just a not for nothing. He's like Sei at this point. He's just a figure. He has no power.
He's like a Queen Elizabeth, you know.
Right, absolutely.
Don't you know that time that Queen Elizabeth had her brother killed?
By the giant gorilla species that she kept locked up.
Yeah, that's why they have. I mean, that's what the Tower of London was for. It was originally like a giant prison. That's where they kept all their Yeti people.
They're Yeti people.
Yeah.
Sounds legit.
It is pretty cool how they kill Ronkai, by the way.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm looking at it now. They like hold him down and
they all team up.
Shin concentrates all on one point and pierce through it. Yeah, this was cool.
Yeah. Yeah, they Taiji Fu holds his legs, Shunmin and Bajio go for his hands, and then Shin ties the sword to his arm or his hand and just dive bombs on top of him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then after that point, that's when everyone starts running, like you said. Chancellor Ketsu's trying to get out of here, and that's when...
Yeah, and when he finally opens the door, he's a single eyeball. And then Toe comes in and just slices all their heads off with that trademark Toe blank slate of a look.
Yep.
I'm looking at it right now.
With 4 heads just floating in the air. The one head that you can see, like, what just happened, you know?
Oh, man.
You can see the one dude ducked. Is that Ketsu there?
That's Ketsu,
That's Ketsu, yeah.
And then his face in the next few pages, like, where he's, like, saying, like, I'm not going to die here, with the conniptions and the sweat falling off of his warty face.
Yes, yeah. This is the exact picture I was referring to when I brought that up before. The veins bulging, very detailed, warts, super sweaty, eyes aren't even open. I don't know how this man's seeing anything.
I mean, all right, so after this, Ten gets stabbed, and, I mean, let's be honest, she's fine. Ten's fine, you know.
Oh, right. She gets stabbed.
Well,
they killed Ketsu right here, right before that happens.
Right, yeah, they kill Ketsu, and then she gets stabbed. You're right.
Right, then she gets stabbed by some asshole in the court.
But then Bajio's walking around with Ketsu's head on his sword, and it's like pretty badass.
Yeah,
honestly.
That's really cool.
Good.
Yeah. Then Seikyo leaves. He comes out, and the situation's just shit because they're getting murdered by the mountain people.
Yeah, dude. Chapter 43, page 10.
I think that's what I'm looking at right now.
To the courtyard.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah.
There's a couple heads in the air.
Yeah. One of the mountain people's one of the regular, Chin folk.
But dust clouds of blood too.
Yeah, a lot of spraying of blood.
But their lines are basically just gone by now. The Chin forces, you know.
Yeah, I mean, you could see there's mountain people literally almost at Mr. Shi.
Yeah.
With people, it's kind of weird. I guess they dragged them out of the way, but like, there's just dead bodies behind people that are alive still at the back of the
Yeah.
the Chin forces.
Yeah. Yeah. I wonder what that is.
But yeah, so Mr. Shi sees Seikyu and he's like, "The fuck are you doing out here?"
Yeah. And then, of course, the monstrous bird descends. He has his talk with Sei, and he basically is like, "Yeah, Sei seems to be the real deal." Um, First thing is he fucking kills that one dude. Whoa, what's his name?
Giko or Giku.
Yeah, he just murders this man, and even the mountain people are like, "Oh, fuck,
Yeah,
this guy." Like,
chapter 43, page 16. That's where you get the Nufu.
Oh, you know what? You know what Oki popping over the wall reminds me of? When they first get to the castle and Shin climbs the wall
And opens.
the gate
Yeah,
for
yeah,
everyone.
yeah.
Yeah.
That was awesome too.
Huh. Interesting that you point that out, Jesse. That's really interesting. I never even thought of that.
Also, right before the chapter 43, page 16, Nufu, right before that, it's Oki standing there in a big panel by himself, and then the side panel has like the various other important characters. I just want to point out, Tanwa's like mountain tribe getup is so fucking cool. Her mask is easily the coolest mask of them all.
Yeah, I mean,
awesome.
I don't know. I kind of like Baggio's and Shunmen's.
I like
Those are
Baggio and
pretty
Shinman's too. I just feel like when they first showed her, like obviously before I knew she was a female, they made her look so big because she was just draped in all this different garb with that
sitting on her throne.
right with her like devil mask pretty much. But like she's even still kind of using like a similar version of that mask, and I just think that mask is like very very fucking cool with like I guess this is leopard print scarf or whatever this is supposed to be.
Yeah, I think it's supposed to be a tiger.
That makes more sense. I don't know actually what animals are in China at this point.
I think tigers. I'm pretty sure
Tigers make more sense. I don't know if leopards are.
Wait,
Yeah,
tigers have stripes though. This is like leopard spot.
Oh yeah, you're right. Tigers do have stripes.
Crazy. When did they get stripes?
I don't know.
I think just recently, but at least when this manga came out, they had
Right. So Oki's boys descend over the wall with him at this point too. And he does fight Giku. Giku,
cuts him in half.
I like. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I like that Giku is like. Honestly, it's pretty cool that Giku goes up to him and is like, "Hey, you said Shibunkun was dead. What the fuck?" And then Oki just looks. Doesn't say a single thing. He gives him that look where they draw him without pupils, and it's just like the whites of his eye.
Yep.
And then the next panel is literally
like a 2-page spread of him slicing a man in half.
So awesome.
Jesse, be prepared for a lot of panels like this.
Yeah,
honestly.
this panel, but like with like 10 other people being sliced in half.
Yeah,
yep.
You know how there's like no blood here because like I guess it's like fast or whatever.
Yeah,
it's like in Gundam when they cut and then they like slowly slide.
Oh, and then they blow up.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Well, because in the next page it shows the
lot
of blood.
lot of blood. A lot of blood.
Right.
So, moving forward from here, Ten, Heki helps out Ten with the chainmail, and he's like, "Oh wait, hold on, wait a second, she ain't got no CMBs."
Yeah, it's a girl.
Oh my God, who knew? I personally, I was able to tell that she was a girl straight from the get-go.
Yeah, when they first showed her, I was like, and they called her a boy, I was like, what? She looks like a girl, but I guess it's a boy. And then it was a girl, and I was like, how does Shin not just assume? Like, I would have just guessed, and like the voice, I guess like a little kid's voice could be, misunderstood, but like
for sure, but still,
is Shin just that stupid?
Yes, that's the thing.
Man. Even Hyel and Sei look kind of feminine, at least at first,
Yeah, for sure.
Opinion.
Yeah, for sure.
I get that totally. But yeah, I don't know, because you know what, those are all pretty valid arguments, but Shin still does not get it until like much later on. And it's like, God
Seriously.
damn. Like I understand he's supposed to be a fucking idiot, but like God.
Yeah. He actually
Like there
does. He gets smarter throughout the series.
I like
yeah, kind of.
there's a
Not
couple
not in
times
a
where he says something and they say that was pretty well spoken for you, you know.
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, not I'm not saying like cuz like 10 gets very smart throughout the series.
Yes.
But not in, I'm not saying Shin's smart in that way. I mean Shin is just not like a bumbling, hick anymore.
Right.
He's stupid because he's a hick and he's a war orphan and he doesn't get a formal education. He's pretty much a slave to the mayor.
Right.
He's not supposed to be smart. And I guess neither is Hyo, but Hyo is just smart for whatever reason.
Yeah, he's just talented. They kind of make two halves of the same coin. I feel like if Hyo were to continue on, Shin would be obviously the instinctual general, and Hyo would have been like a like a strategist type.
Like a Muten kind of guy.
Yeah, or like or Shohei-kun.
Yeah, absolutely.
But we'll get into that in another time too, because Jesse, I'm sure, doesn't.
Right. Yeah, but I feel like he would have been
I was
Shohei-kun, but like
Shohei-kun.
yeah, I'm sure you were. Definitely like Shohei-kun, but more so like on the field, not just like a strategist kind of guy.
He probably would have been better than Shin, honestly. I mean, like
Probably.
Shin probably would have been obvious. Hyo even says like Shin's physically more powerful than I would be, but
Yeah.
altogether, I think Hyo would have been a more competent like
Now
person
that
on the battlefield.
now that we're at this point, before we continue, we could real quick talk about the fact that so Shin and Hyo have had 1,253 matches
Hmm.
before they meet Shohei-kun or Shobunkun.
Hmm.
And at that point, Shin loses because Shobunkun distracts him, and he says, "This is the first time that the Shin's win and loss rate to Hyo is 332 wins, 334 losses, 587 ties." And he says this is the first time in over a year that there's been more than a 2-loss difference between them. And then the night before that Hyo goes off, they say we're gonna have one more fight, and Hyo goes, "Why don't we make this worth 2?" And Shin goes, "Well, how about 3?" And Hyo's like, "No, just 2."
Yeah, that was a really good moment.
Yeah, I like that a lot. I don't know who actually won. Probably Hyo.
I don't know, honestly. Do they even say?
They don't ever address it. They don't go back to it. We never know. It's kind of just left
God,
up to them being boys.
this is that's such like a Rocky 3 moment, or at
Oh,
the
at
end.
the end.
Yeah, at the end where he and Apollo Creed have their
Oh
match.
yeah.
But
And 30 years later, when he makes Rocky 6, he decides to say that Creed him first.
hey, that's actually, now that we're talking about this is how I'm gonna picture Shin talking. Is like Sylvester Stallone.
Don't do
I'm
that
not
to
gonna
my
be able
man.
to get that out of my fucking head, man.
Don't do that to Shin.
Goddamn. I'm gonna become a great general under the heavens.
That first
Jesus
chapter is
Christ.
pretty packed. We didn't really talk too much about the first chapter in specific, but it is 61 pages long or whatever, including all the beginning pages and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's definitely a lot that happens there.
There is a lot.
That's pretty much the Shin and Hyo chapter. Pretty much is all right in chapter 1.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean,
do
they
have,
do a pretty good job setting it up.
I do have a thing written here about the first chapter, about the ending.
Go ahead.
We can maybe save it for the end of the episode, or
yeah. Why don't we do that? We can keep going because we got 3 more chapters.
We're basically almost done with that. Yeah.
Yeah. So Oki talks to Sei. Evan, you can
and
take that.
You know what I really like about that is how Sei just completely dresses him down. He's just like, "Oh, I don't." Oki's like, "Oh, I don't know if you're actually like capable, blah blah blah. Like you might be getting too far ahead of yourself." And Sei's just like, "Bitch, your fucking King Show died like 7 years ago. Get the fuck over it, you know.
The one thing
And
that I
like,
really like that he says to Oki is Oki mentions King Sho to him. He's like, I don't know if you're the same man as King Sho. And the first thing Hyo says is, "Do not speak the name of King Sho again. That's for your own sake." Like very,
yeah,
very like, fuck you, Oki. Don't throw that shit at me. I am the king. You need to show me some
and,
respect.
and you know what the really cool thing too is, this man, say just watch this man chop a man in half in a blink of an eye. You
Seriously.
know what I mean? Like, the biggest enemy that they had to fight on the field that day was just instantly just snuffed, and he's still bitching at Oki out, and Oki respects that, and he like looks into his eyes. He's like, "There's some good eyes."
He does, yeah, pretty much.
Where do you
He
get these eyes?
We also
Where do you
get to
get those
see
eyes?
a picture of God of War King Show where like he's like
Yeah,
actually on the battlefield in like his suit of armor, his really it's like it kind of looks like Aztecian suit of armor with a glaive
it
in his hand.
it kind of does, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, I agree with that. It was just weird,
it is a little
very
weird.
weird. It's kind of almost looks like Mountain Tribe-esque too.
Absolutely. Yeah, I could see. I could go. Yeah, I guess Mountain Tribe esque would make more sense. Obviously, like
But I get
as
what you're saying though
yeah.
about like it's kind of, it almost looks like it almost was inspired by it. But then they have their conversation. Oki leaves, and then fucking Sekio looks behind him, and there's Shin, Bajio, and Shunmen fucking carrying Katsu's head on his sword, ready to just murk him. Um, but for some reason, Sei decides to, keep him alive. He doesn't kill him right there on the spot,
Hmm.
which kind of says, what Sei is like. He's not like a complete monster, obviously. I mean, there's no reason to think that he's a monster like throughout the series. Um, but like you would think that he would just have Sekio killed right then and there.
Yeah,
Instead, he just like,
Say I think when I first read it, I just assumed Say was like, all right, everybody that went against me, you're fucking dead, you know. But
mm-hmm,
Say is actually, unlike me, intelligent and didn't kill them all because he needed them, you know.
right, because this isn't the only internal struggle going on in the court,
Right.
you know.
Mm.
So in order to, you know, counteract Ryofui's faction, he's gonna have to get as many people as he can from the side that just tried to kill him, which is
Uh,
pretty fucked up. That's a fucked up situation to be
yeah,
in.
that really sucks. I mean, the fact that you have all of these people who were like, yeah, we're gonna kill this guy and make this other guy the king. Fuck that guy. Who fucking cares about that guy? And now he's like, I need you people to work with me so we can kill that other guy who's trying to kill me now, you know?
Yeah, and everyone's like, "Oh, Ryofui, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, that's not the best idea."
I also really like, before we wrap this up, because you're pretty much talking about the end of the arc. Or
What'd you say?
close. You're close. You're getting close to the end of the arc. There's just something I wanted to bring up
Yeah.
back to Oki and Sei. During their little exchange, we get a really cool flashback of Oki talking to King Sho above a battlefield on like a mountaintop.
Mhm.
And it's just like, them talking. Like King Sho being like, I'm old. I didn't achieve unifying China. After all, I'm the god of war, but like, just because I'm a god doesn't mean I'm immortal. Um, and the next panel, you actually see that Shobun-kun was up there with them. Like, he
Mm.
was standing also next to King Sho at this point.
Yeah.
And
Mhm.
like one of the last panels in that scene is just like a side shot of Oki and some tears like running down his face, like really showing like how much he respected and loved King Sho.
Yeah, how
Mm.
loyal he was.
Right. And then like after that, he's like, all right, so he's like looking at the eyes and he's like, oh, so this is a Sei.
Mhm. Yeah, he doesn't have the same eyes, but he's got the eyes. Those eyes seem to have a path to conquer China.
Right. I just wanted to bring that up because I thought that was like a really cool flashback that we got to see, especially
Really
with
cool
Yeah.
moment for
especially
sure.
with
God.
I was just gonna say, especially because Shobun-kun was there, so like you really get to see
Right.
that like Shobun-kun was like, he was a first off a good warrior and second off like respected in the court. Outside of that, like King Sho obviously had respect for him and had him by his side for these things.
Yeah.
He's kind of been fighting for this cause the whole time.
Exactly.
Yeah. I want to point out too. I want to break down a little bit of Seikyo meeting with Sei, because we see in chapter 46, page 11, we see Seikyo take a swing at Sei, and there's like a blood splatter out of his shoulder. But then when you get to the next page, you actually see that. Or wait, is it? Oh, it's actually just on the same page. I had to scroll down there. You actually see that the blood is coming from Sei stabbing Seikyo's forearm. He just
Yeah.
like stabs the sword straight through, and
Yeah.
then he beats the absolute shit out of this man. And
Oh,
if you
yeah.
if you go to page 14, dude,
He just like laying there.
this panel, he looks like
Yeah.
a little raisin. Just like
He pretty much
It's
broke his
insane.
jaw. He's like, I'm sorry. And
sorry.
his jaw is
Right.
like straight up broken.
And he's just laying there with a sword in his arm.
It's always great to get like that justification, like, or that satisfaction of like, finally someone fucking
Yeah.
punched this man in the face. Like,
Yeah,
I always think
about
this
goddamn time.
it's like when in One Piece, like when they're on Sabity Archipelago and Luffy punches the Tenryubitu in his face, and it's like, oh, finally someone hit him.
Yeah, dude, fucking for real. And like, this took 46 chapters to get to, but it's so savory. It's such a savory moment.
Yeah, and then literally the last panel of that chapter 46 is just like everyone, like the way that he draws everyone like yelling, "This is our
Like
victory."
everybody cheering and
Right,
stuff.
right. Around all the troops that are like still on the ground, like, our chancellor, no.
Look at the bottom right. If you guys have that page pulled up, the bottom right.
That one mask.
One guy with a mask.
His eyeball.
Yeah. Well, all right. So, I mean, this brings us to the last chapter where Sei comes back to the throne room and everything's all bloody. And they all start to party. Everybody's having a good time. But like really the biggest thing that I wanted to talk about, first off, is it shows that Ken is like a survivor of one of the mountain tribes that are supposed to be killed. First off, then right after that, Sei and Shin have this conversation where they basically says like, Shin, you gotta be able to become a general by the time I take my throne when I become of age, and this chapter 47, page 15, that's pretty much one of the most important chapters in the entirety of the series, because this is the impetus for the rest of like most of the series. Like, Shin has to distinguish himself. He can't just become a general, I mean, like, he did an important thing, but at the same time he's still not much more than a peasant, so he needs to become the general that he wants to be by the time Sei takes complete control of the state. And yeah, you're going to see a lot of callbacks to this page throughout the series.
Yeah.
This page is awesome, with the whole tons of shades of gray thing. And if you look beyond the walls there, you see these buildings that, again, are just like shaped by shading. They're not really drawn there. And,
Right.
Yes.
I love that shit, man.
Yeah, he does.
Dope.
He does a really good job with the background. Yep. It looks beautiful, man. But I like that Evan brought this up. Like, this scene, like, I don't know why this scene is so iconic to me, because I guess they do this so often after certain events where it's like Sei and Shin and sometimes Ten are just like by themselves, like, that everything that they've been through. It's really cool that Sei's like, hey, like, everything that you've done, like, we can make you like an imperial guard, like, you can be a guard in my court. And he's like, why the fuck would I want to do that? I told you, I want to be a general. And it's like, all right, well, then I need you to become a general, I need you to be one of my generals in my army. Because he wants, he wants him for his conquest. And I think Sei, like, really, really believes in Shin. Which,
yeah. I mean, did we ever even mention the deal that they make?
Oh, how he gets like property.
Right.
Yeah, he's supposed to get like a house and some land because you can't become anything in the army without some land and
That's actually, I wanted to bring that up because I feel like the house that he gets is pretty shitty compared to what he did. It's just like a
absolutely.
little shack. I mean, he's fine with it because he's a poor guy and he really
He's,
finds joy in the small things in life.
yeah, he's
But
also never
dude,
had anything of his own.
right, but
But
still,
absolutely, like all
I
right,
feel like I could buy something this size at like Home Depot
yeah, like
and store
seriously,
like tools in it. You know what I mean?
that's the thing. Like like literally without Shin, Sei dies.
Yeah, yeah,
Absolutely, the
absolutely.
first assassin kills Sei. Absolutely. If not, the first assassin Muda kills Sei.
Mm-hmm.
Without Shin, he's absolutely dead because Shobun-kun and those retainers don't get to him in time. Uh, I was actually gonna bring and like yeah, the shack thing pretty shitty. I mean, obviously Shin's fine with it. Ten is like, what the fuck is this bullshit?
Yeah,
Which like they could have at least given him like a house instead of like the shack that he's been living in like when he was living with the mayor and Hyo.
right.
They pretty much just
Maybe a
picked that
place
thing
in,
up and brought it into this like shitty swamp area.
like you could have given him an apartment in Kanyo. You could have done literally anything.
Yeah, like literally anything. I get that they put him in like some random area with some land, but like the shacks, this
Hey,
sucks.
could you say that again? You're kind of breaking up.
Oh, I was saying like I get they put him in this certain area because they
Oh,
want him to have his own land as
hello.
well. Hello.
I'm still here. I don't hear Adam though.
All
Hey,
right. It's
Adam.
definitely picking me up. The recording's definitely picking me up.
Yeah, I heard you just then.
Can you hear me now still? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, the recording was definitely still picking up what I was saying because it's on
Okay.
my end. Um. Anyway, so that's gonna be in the podcast.
Well, I mean,
wait,
that
hold on.
basically
Hold
wraps
on.
up
Can you not hear me?
going over the chapter section.
Oh, one quick note about chapter 47. The last note that I have here for this whole arc is that page 6, Sei plops himself down on the throne and makes a dad noise. And Shin even says he sounds like an old man. I thought that was really good.
Hey, can you guys hear me?
Yeah, I can hear
Okay,
you.
I was talking and you guys were talking over me, and I was like, hello,
Yeah,
hello.
no, you're kind of like coming in and out, like it's weird.
All right, the one thing I wanted to say was, it's really weird that Shin had so much say in things. Like even like when they were holding like their little meeting at the meeting place between the old king and the mountain people.
Mm-hmm.
Because like, think about it. Like think about like the fact that when Shin even like called Sei by his name instead of calling him king, like they were ready to kill him. Why are they letting
Yeah.
like this little peasant boy even like have a say or like interrupt them or interrupt Shobunk? Like I feel like it's like
Well-
very odd. I get that Shin had a big part in it all, but like realistically, they probably wouldn't have even let him into the fucking meeting room, you know?
Well, didn't they even like didn't they say something like that? Like I'm pretty certain that they say like, dude, shut the fuck up, like multiple times. But are you
Right.
talking about when they're in the actual building itself, like right before they're going to the
Right before they go to the mountain people.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean it's just something I figured I'd.
It's one of those things.
Yeah, I mean again, it's a manga and it's not super realistic, But like, if this was like actually realistic, like they would have been like, "All right, kid, you did your job. Get the fuck out of here,"
But hey, I mean, hey, Shin's just super strong, so.
Oh,
Yeah.
Shin has these cuts on his face now, and he looks like Naruto.
He won't have that. That's not like a thing like Naruto. Like even in chapter 47, he no longer has those.
This isn't a prequel to Naruto, you're saying?
No. It might
Sorry,
be.
Jesse.
Can't
I know
spoil
we had
anything.
I know we had to tempt you into reading and doing this because we told you that it was just a prequel to Naruto, but
Actually, it's a
Not the
prequel
case.
to Dragon Ball because in chapter 48 we get to see Snake Way.
uh,
Adam cut out there, so I didn't get my feelings hurt.
Thank God.
well, I just have before we wrap everything up, I just wanted to ask, like Jesse, where do you think this series is going? Like, what do you think is going to happen?
I don't even know. I know that you guys just keep saying it gets more and more ridiculous. I don't know if when I pick up new series, if I'm ever one to like really speculate on where things are gonna go and like come up with predictions and theories. But I'm down for the ride for sure.
Right on, right on. Who so far has caught your attention, like character-wise?
Um, Oki for sure, for
Cool.
sure. And I mean, yeah, the three main ones, El King and Shin and Ten, they're a cool little trio. And yeah, again, like Yotanwa, super cool. The mountain people. I don't know. So far I'm for everyone. Really, everything's been really cool.
Okay, cool. Well, I'm glad you think so,
Man,
because we've got quite a bit to go.
I'm reading. So I went to go look at like the chapter numbers for the arcs. So like the next chapter, the next arc, we can just do like the Kyou campaign, which is chapter 48 to 73.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mhm.
But I'm looking at some of these, like some of the, like the one after that is 74 to 81. So I feel like we can lump that in with like the next two, because the next one's 82 to 100, and then 101 to 107. So like those three could be one maybe, or two of those could be one.
Yeah. We can all kind of condense it.
But then I'm looking at this one, the Coalition arc, and it's like 100 chapters. The Gyo campaign is like almost 200 chapters.
Yeah. Mhm. Well, we'll figure it out because I mean, especially with the Gyo campaign, like it's split up into different.
Yeah, we
armies
might
and
just
different
have
things.
we might just have to like split that all up. But for sure we're just doing chapter 48 to 73, correct?
Yes, because that's the first campaign.
Right. So that'll be what we
we're-
talk about, I don't know, hopefully in a week or two.
Yeah, I would be okay with doing it in about a week or so.
Yeah.
About a week or so.
Nice. Love Bobby Shmurda.
Topical.
My
Yeah.
favorite picture is the picture of the guy holding like two puppet marionette things with strings coming down to like two other little guys. And one of them, it says Donald Trump. One of the puppets is Donald Trump, and the other puppet is Vladimir Putin. And the guy holding them is Bobby Shmurda.
Oh my god,
I love that picture.
The truth
that's
revealed.
amazing.
Real quick, Jesse, was there something you wanted to bring up about chapter 1? Chapter 1. Jesse?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I do have something written here about the ending of chapter 1. If I could get your attention for just a moment.
No.
All right, well, Evan, listen up.
I'm listening.
We're all listening. We're all waiting.
No, I know. Shin crawls to Hyo. Hyo looks into Shin's eyes. For the both of us. Both of us? That's right. You're gonna... He trails off. You're gonna? Questions Shin. Live. Hyo pulls Shin's face into his chest, masking him with a veil of blood. My honor, my dreams, they're yours now. His voice shaking, the rain louder than the words. You're my living legacy. Shin repeats the words back, but he clearly misheard. I'm your living legacy? Kyo dies. Roll credits for Crisis Core Final Fantasy VII on the PSP, released 2007. Now here's the thing about this, guys. You read the end of chapter 1. It's the same exact thing as the ending to Crisis Core. And I looked into it a little bit, and Crisis Core, the ending is Zack's death. Of course, we all know that, even if you haven't played the game. And we see this scene in Final Fantasy VII, which came out in 1997, but there's no dialogue at all, right? Crisis Core gets revealed in 2004. This chapter of Kingdom comes out in January 2006. Crisis Core doesn't come out until a year and a half later in 2007. The scene has to be ripped off right from Kingdom. It's like the exact same thing. Now, the thing I just read, that's the dialogue from Crisis Core, but Hyo and Shin like literally almost have that same exact conversation.
I mean, I'm gonna go out there and say that it probably isn't. The same
What? Evan,
conversation.
that's pretty stupid of you to say, I would say.
What?
Here's
But
the thing. No one online mentioned this. I googled it and I went on both Final Fantasy's Reddit and Kingdom's Reddit and tried to like find people talking about this. No one has brought this up before. And it's like just it's so similar. I mean, I love Crisis Core, so when I read this in Kingdom, I thought of it immediately. Immediately. And yeah, I mean, I just thought that was really funny.
Yeah, I like that. That's a nice little thing you threw in there. I like that you didn't say that at the point that we were at, and you waited till the end of the episode to say that.
Well, we didn't really talk about chapter one, we didn't like start off talking about chapter.
No, I know, but when you were going to bring it up, I like that you waited until now to
Oh,
actually say that.
yeah, there was something else I wanted to talk about, but I don't even remember. There was another point I wanted to make about this, but oh well, kill me.
Well, all right, guys. Looks like we're probably running a bit over on time. So I'm gonna end this up. So thank you for listening to King Dummies by Mangaki no Tsukai. Next time we'll be talking about the next arc in Kingdom, the first campaign arc, and I am so excited to read it, and I'm so excited to hear what you guys have to say about the reread and the first read. So yeah, thank you for listening, everyone.
Thanks, everybody. I'm gonna go play Roblox.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Bye.